recording. Fantastic. Avoiding stress. I hope you didn't have much stress today. For me, it's the first day back to homeschooling after half term, so it was a bit tense, bringing back all the routine, but we managed, and I survived. It wasn't that bad. Okay, let me share the screen, and I hope you will be able to see me as much as you will see my screen. Okay, so let me put myself here. Not sure what is happening here, but there you go. Okay, NLP for parents, and we do workshops and one-to-one sessions with families, with children. I also work within schools and educational providers. But today we're here to talk about the stress. Can we avoid stress and how we avoid stress? First, I would like to start with just a quick quote, well, definition really, the differences between the tiredness, stress, fatigue, and burnout, and why. If you go to our YouTube channel, you will notice that some time ago, I recorded a session about tiredness and fatigue. So for me, some of the solutions or techniques that I will be talking about today kind of come up on the other topic as well. So I wanted just to make sure and clarify for myself and for you the main difference between the tiredness and the stress. And the information are, as you can see here again, the American Institute of Stress. So tiredness is a state of mind and or body feeling the need for rest. So this is when your body is really telling you that you need to close your eyes and go to get a nap, or just relax and sit down with your feet up. And we can physically feel that in our body, but also in our mind. Stress is the non-specific reason of the mind and body to any demand. And that non-specific reason I want to highlight here, and we will discuss that a little bit more later. Stressors can cause you about everything from fleeing momentary reaction to heart attack. And I will talk a little bit more about the negative results of stress in our body, in our mind, and how that impacts our mental health. Fatigue is an extreme form of tiredness. So this is when, it can be chronic or temporary, but it's when your body or your mind is absolutely exhausted and tired to the limits. And burnout is something I heard a lot when I worked in my previous career. So I worked for global organizations, and there was a lot in HR. That was the department I worked a lot. And quite often we talked about burnout of CEOs or managers and how they drive themselves, they continuously working, they replying emails very late, and we had to deal with that and help them find the right balance. And the American Institute of Stress, it describes burnout, and especially among overly stressed parents, us, workers and professionals, such as those in medical or military settings, you can only imagine, is a chronic form of tiredness that can interfere with the ability to function. And that again comes very closely for me with the stress, because the excessive amount of stress and continuous stress, so living under anxiety, stress that comes quite close very often as well, it can affect our ability to function on a daily basis. What is stress? What is stress? And there is no medical definition. However, the professionals often disagree whether stress is the cause of the problem or the result of it. And stress can affect your body, your mind, your abilities to function, your abilities to think. And it is even more difficult, though, to figure out the cause of the feelings of stress, and how to deal with them if we don't really, if we don't have a definition, or if we are not able to define what stress really is. A certain amount of stress is good for us, and here I'm talking about the level of stress that is motivating you and pushing you forward. Maybe you have upcoming deadline for a project that you've been working on, and you can feel the stress, but that's something that is driving you forward, something that is pushing you to give that extra bit and finish that on time. The stress is also releasing specific levels of hormones in our body that then trigger our fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And that's something that's important for our survival. That's our basic instincts. And sometimes intuitively we can feel that, it's time to stop, or it's time to run. It strengthens us and helps build resilience. We will talk a little bit more about the emotional resilience, especially. So a small amount of stress, it's actually good in our life. And for that reason, I wouldn't say that we can avoid or eliminate stress totally in our life, and especially now. Those days we have constant emails, mobile phones, messages, news. It comes from everywhere: TV, radio, social media. You just switch your phone on and everything in the morning, and then everything start pinging and coming across. That's something that just causes anxiety. And that is why it's important to build a specific routines. And we will get to that in a minute as well. There is something that I would like to read to you about what a stress is. Imagine holding your arm straight out, grasping a rope. In the beginning, it is easy, but the longer you keep your arm held high and your hand gripping the rope, the harder it becomes. Your arm will begin to get tired. Your fingers will want to let go. As you continue to hold on, you become more and more uncomfortable. Sooner or later, the physical act of holding the rope will be too much to bear. It will take a toll on your muscles and you will need to let go. So it goes with stress. Situations that cause temporary stress can be painful but bearable. But as you live with chronic stress, it begins to take its toll on your body. You can't sleep, or maybe you sleep too much. Your digestive system doesn't work the way it used to. You deal with headaches on a daily basis. You sometimes want to just give up or cry for no reason. All of this is easily noticeable, but chronic stress also impacts you in ways you can't see. When you are stressed, your heart works harder and your immune system may not work as well. And this is something that I think quite well describe how chronic stress can affect our body, our daily activities. But I am absolutely certain that whatever that definition of stress is for you, with a bit of an effort, you can learn to manage the stress, to manage it better, and to maybe lower the amount of stress that you have in your daily life. And symptoms. I think recognizing the symptoms of stress is one of the first key aspects of being able to deal with the stress better. As you can see, Stress comes up in all parts of your mind and body, and in your mind it comes in form of excessive worrying and inability to make any decisions, all sorts of negativity, foggy thinking, hasty decisions, something that we don't think through, and impair judgment. In your behavior, the stress shows up in form of substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, loss of appetite, sometimes for people maybe excessive eating, accidents prone, restlessness, loneliness. Loneliness is extremely dangerous, and it also can cause, stress also cause insomnia. So it's just almost like a vicious circle. You stress, you can't sleep, and because you don't sleep, you're even more stressed and more tired. The emotions, the stress shows up as a loss of confidence, apprehension, indifference, depression, irritability, and insomnia again. And in our body, the stress comes in a form of a fatigue, headache, taut muscles, really tense and hard and painful muscles, sometimes skin irritations, frequent infections, and constricted breathing. And about breathing, we will talk a little bit more as well. So how we can lower the level of stress. And just to remind you, if you haven't been part of our workshops before, on the right hand side in your navigation bar, you should have ability to chat, so you can send a message, but also feel free to unmute yourself at any time if you have any questions with regards to anything I'm discussing currently, or we can have a Q&As at the end, towards the end of the session. How do we deal with stress? Well, balance is the key, and this is why I asked at the beginning whether we can avoid stress completely. And as you now know, that is difficult, extremely difficult to avoid stress in today's lifestyle that we have. But sometimes it's also positive. It's needed, required to have a certain or small amount of stress in our daily life. So why balance? I think for me, balancing, as you can see on the picture here, balancing our work life, our personal life, balancing our passions and interests and me time with the responsibilities that we have, it's a key. It's important to managing that stress level. As I already mentioned, recognizing when we're stressed, so recognizing those symptoms such as headaches, the extreme fatigue of your body, anything from the slide before, it will be a signal for you to focus a little bit more about what you can do for yourself to lower the stress level. And understanding the triggers, and for us at different points and different times in our life, those triggers can be different. So maybe recently, because of the lockdown, some people lost their income, or maybe the income is significantly lower than before, and they're struggling with bills, with family lifestyle that they are used to, and that can be a trigger. So worrying constantly about money, about bills, about the next day, it will be extremely, extremely difficult. So making sure that you maybe plan ahead, keep preparing yourself, but also observing your body, your reactions, and paying attention to those triggers will be important. Just 1 second. Apologies for the interruption. Okay. Balancing the lifestyle and balancing our responsibilities is very, very important. And also understanding your triggers. So the triggers will be different for different people. It will be something different for me, something different for you. And it also will be different in various circumstances and different situations. The money is one trigger. There could be something with regards to health. Maybe a member of your family currently is going through virus, the COVID, or any other symptoms, or maybe other illnesses, and because of COVID you are worried twice as much as you would maybe previously. So pay attention to what's the main trigger. But triggers also we can observe in the situation. So I often, when I'm extremely stressed, I either feel very tired and I really need to have a nap or go to sleep, or I react impulsively. So I will shout, or I will just need to go for a brisk walk and get the stress and a certain level of anger out. And that's the best way for me to deal. But observing the triggers is also going a step back to see what happened and what triggered you. Maybe it was someone, or maybe it was something, and paying attention whether those can be avoided or can be dealt with a different approach, different attitude. Develop emotional resilience. And NLP and mindfulness are my favorite techniques, and those are techniques that I use with my clients, whether they are young children, age 6, 7, or 8, teenagers, or young adults, parents. I think NLP and mindfulness is part of my life. That's something that helped me come out of depression after I had 2 children and lost my job. It also helped me on a daily basis now to deal with the level of stress that I have, and most of you probably, with kids at home. Luckily, we are going back on the 8th of March. I do hope nothing will change, because I'm already planning a party with the champagne and a chocolate cake. The first day they gone to school. So that's a little treat for myself. And treats are also important in managing the stress level, because we need to treat ourselves from time to time and appreciate every little things in our life. I will tell you a little bit more about certain NLP techniques that will be best suited for dealing with stress very shortly, and also about my favorite mindfulness techniques. But coming back to what else is on the list of balancing the level of stress in our life, is what I've already mentioned. So balancing the responsibilities with activities we enjoy, like swimming. Oh my God, I love swimming, and I really can't wait until they reopen the swimming pools, or at least it's warm enough for me to go and swim in the lake. I'm from Poland, and from a tiny village right in like a lake district. So I absolutely love lakes and forests, and that's my favorite anchor. And I will talk about anchoring when I mention NLP. Reading books. I listed my favorite ones, but you obviously can choose something that you love the most. I love reading books, and book time is a relaxing time for me. And sometimes it's an amazing way of avoiding stress, or minimizing the level of stress. If I can grab a book, and when I'm stressed, it's not going to be any growth or development type of book. It will be very light, very easy, maybe funny, or something that will cheer me up, and something that will help me transform or transition myself to a different world. And Harry Potter books are amazing in doing that. Or I remember my favorite book when I was growing up, Anne from Green Valley. I've got a whole set of those books, and I absolutely love them. And meeting friends. I'm a very social being, so as you can imagine, I struggle very much now during the lockdown, having just the 4 of us in the house plus the puppy. I do need to have social interactions. I love my friends, and Zoom and WhatsApp video calls are no longer enough for me. Although they did well at the beginning, now I really want to go out and see people and hug people. I'm a hugger, so I definitely want to be able to see my friends and give them a hug and just feel their presence. And that's something that, again, helps me deal with stress. When I can feel the closeness of someone that I care about and someone that I know cares about me. The next point, building routine and healthy habits. And building routine, and this is where I will tell you about my routines, what helps me. It's important because it kind of keeps your brain tidy. It's like for the babies, when you have a very little one, or now I have a puppy, which is like a baby, and I need to train. It helps to build a proper routine that fits into your circumstances, into your lifestyle. Something that will make life easier, simply because you know what happened after, you know what to expect. And it's equally important for the babies, young children in primary school. As you know, they've got a full schedule for every week, as it is for us adults, parents, or carers and teachers. It is extremely important to have a routine, daily routine, and I have two. I have a morning routine and evening routine. In the morning, I try to wake up as early as I'm physically able, depending on what time I go to bed. And that's usually before the rest of my family wakes up. That's my time, me time. The house is very quiet. I will do my prayer meditation type of activity. I will do some yoga and then have my cold shower. That helps me to really start the day in a positive way and gives me enough energy to face the day. So that's my morning routine before everyone else wakes up. But then I have a routine as well with my family. So my kids wake up, they have a breakfast, they get ready. If they're going to school, I drop them to school. I come back and do my mindful walk through the park, and then I start with emails and work. So I normally start around 10 o'clock my professional work life. But before, I focus on cherishing those times and moments with my family, with my close ones. I have that ability. If any of you are single parents, I know it's much more difficult, but don't give up. Just keep trying different things and find what works for you and your family. And the same with the evenings. I've got evening routine when after dinner. So dinner is our family time, is the time when we can sit down together and talk about what happened during the day. If I notice that either kids or myself or my husband had a bit of a downtime, or low moods, or something happened that maybe my son got angry and was screaming and crying, we talk about that in a positive way, and we will try to always look at things. I've got three questions that I always try to blend into the conversation, and is to ask what went well today, what didn't go so well, and what can I do next time to improve it. So we try to talk about, this is like a feedback sandwich. If you work in a professional environment, you will know what I'm talking about, and trying to discuss what happened during the day. But that also helps you unload any worries, any thoughts, because our brain is like teacup or a glass of water. There is a limit, and if we keep putting and putting and putting more, it will overflow. So it's like, you keep holding all your thoughts, worries, and those feelings that keeps crumbling into your brain, and then it eventually explodes like a champagne or a volcano. And this is why we also need to have friends, or we need to have a support system around us. We need to have people that we can open up and talk to. And if you don't, for whatever reason, maybe you are a person that doesn't like sharing, or you don't have anyone who you could share with, I think down the line here on our list, there is writing journal and writing what happened in your day. It's also very, very valuable technique to unload, because that helps your brain to take some stuff out and put it somewhere else, so there is more space. And when you go to bed, you're going to avoid the situation when you're lying down, everything is quiet, and that's when you start thinking what to do tomorrow, what to do next day, or what didn't go so well today, what you haven't had time to finish or complete. And probably for you, as it is for me, it happens quite often when you go to bed, and instead of getting the rest, you actually start thinking and your brain is working. So having those routines will also help. And that's why the evening routine is important, because it helps you transition yourself from the work type of or home type of mood into the restful mood. In the past, most of us, when we traveled to and from work, we had that gap on the train or in the car when we could separate the two. But now our homes become both. It's our professional and personal life, it's our work and home, and everything is in the same space. So if you can, maybe go for a walk. When you finish your emails, you finish your working hours, or you finish the homeschooling with kids, just go for a walk and end that professional, that working life, that working day with something different, with something pleasant and nice. And that's about the routines. We usually then, my kids goes and get wash, they get ready for bed, and while they do that, I tidy up quickly, and then we have a book time, and that's something that I cherish very much, and I hope they will enjoy reading books as long as possible, because I love doing that, and that's a quiet time for us. But when I'm doing workshops, and I do many workshops with parents now online in the evenings, I will put something like meditation or audiobook for my children while they go to bed, and then I will go and check once I finish. So also finding the routines and alterations, being a bit flexible, because sometimes we're very rigid, we're very strict, like, you know, between two, stressing. So I think being aware of anything that can impact your routine is very important, and having that level of flexibility and being able to accept the last minute change and just deal with it, and then try again the next day. If my kids have a bad day for whatever reason, something at school or an argument with a friend, and they just completely lose the balance, their resilience, or the whole routine goes through the roof, I deal with it the best I can, and then next day try again and encourage them to try again. So I think it's important to keep that healthy level of the flexibility in your routines. About the healthy habits, I will talk a little bit more very shortly when I move on to the NLP. And I just put here the feel-good anchors, which I will tell you very briefly now, actually. Feel-good anchors is one of the techniques that if your children worked with me or with one of our practitioners before, maybe you heard about the magic button, and that's one of my favorite NLP technique. It helps to shift the moods in a very quick way, and I will tell you in about the anchors in 1 minute a little bit more. Another NLP technique is modeling happy people, and this is when you can find a guru or a teacher or a mentor who inspires you in any way, and just look in their habits and lifestyle and see what they do to help themselves. and how they live their happy life. And modeling, it's something that in NLP is a big field of NLP techniques. So you can read a little bit more about that too. And submodalities will help with quick shift of your moods through my favorite part, which is visual. As you can probably see in this presentation, is a lot of pictures, and you will see a few more. I am very visual, so my dominant sense is vision, and that's the reason why I like submodalities so much. But submodalities is another NLP techniques that can help you deal with stress, and we often use that with maybe dealing with trauma, with fears, but stress as well, and anxiety. Healthy diet, and I bet any GP, any doctor, any health professional, when you approach them with your chronic stress or any level of stress or anxiety, they will talk about a healthy diet, and that is extremely important to our body, to have nutritious food and to take care of our body. Aromatherapy and supplements, that's something that will support the healthy diet. So look up what you can change in your diet. If there is too much sugar, if there is too much caffeine, cigarettes, or alcohol, that's the key points for you to focus and try to change the diet. What's also important is to eating small but more often. So instead of having one big dinner and maybe nothing throughout the day because you're too busy or too stressed, try to build into your daily routine the time for meals and spend a good time eating your food, not rushing. I remember, and that's probably one of the causes for me to suffer with depression when I had my children, and they're quite close. So I was on 2 consecutive maternities and spent about 3-4 years at home. I ate very quickly. I was holding one baby in my arm, the other maybe bottle or feeding or breastfeeding, and I had very little time for myself. So I sometimes ate on the go, in the car, or when I was pushing a pushchair and just trying to grab anything. And that caused a lot of pains, and I had severe problems with my stomach, with my health. So that's something that definitely is important, and I've learned the lesson to pay attention to a healthy diet, to look at supplements and listen to my body, what needs. It will always tell you, it will always send the signals if you only pay attention. Getting good sleep to level the amount of stress. And why I put quality over quantity, I know that we hear everywhere about 8 hours of sleep, and you need to have minimum of 8 hours. And I would agree with that to a certain point, because for me personally, and I learned that over a long period of time, 6 hours is significant, and sometimes 6 hours is better for my body than 8, because if I sleep longer than 6 hours, I feel drowsy and lazy. But that, there is a lot of factor that impacts this. But quality of our sleep is more important. Now, neuroscience, all the research that scientists have, the evidence that we have now, it tells us that the quality of sleep is more important than the quantity. And sometimes 3 or 4 hours of a good deep sleep are better than 8 hours. And parents with the young babies can certify that, because if your baby goes to sleep and you actually manage to sleep 3 or 4 hours uninterrupted, and you manage to get your proper REM, the REM sleep, then you feel much more rested than when you constantly waking up or listening if your baby is breathing, which I did as well, and just listening if the baby is turning around when you put it on what was the position when you put on the baby on its back with the feet to the bottom of the bed. It was completely driving me crazy. But that's something that's important for me, I've learned again my own experience as a mother, as a professional. I used to work a long, crazy hours, and then I went out and party. But as soon as I hit the pillow and get a few hours sleep, I could get up and work productively next day again. But having a little babies at home, it was probably the test of my life. Sleep, yes, quality over quantity, and how you can get a good sleep. This is why, again, the evening routine is important. It's important that we stop our thoughts and not stop them completely, but stop them spinning and almost driving us crazy. I don't know if you can feel that kind of anxiety or some level of energy or water or something moving inside of you when you just want to do something else and something else and something else, and you just can't stop. So your body and your brain is not able to relax. Aromatherapy, homeopathy, and meditation, yoga. Yoga helps me a lot. Fresh air, and you can see get a fresh air daily. It's important, the level of oxygen in our brain. It also helps us relax and fall asleep. So I always sleep with the window open, even if it's a -20, which we do have in Poland. I always keep a window tiny open just to get a fresh air and to get my brain sleep better. What else in the evening? Maybe reading a book or having a nice hot bath with the candles, listening to some quiet music, anything. I love listening to jazz in the evening, especially when I'm cooking. But put your favorite music. It could be just a nature sounds, or in the summer, I love opening the windows wide and listening to birds and all nature sounds, even a wind. I love wind, and I love windy days because feeling the wind on my face and in my hair is something that is relaxing me. But that's down to the anchors, which I tell you a little bit more, that I've built as a child. And that helps me. So find something that works for you. Find something that helps you get that good sleep, even if it's only a few hours, but help you go to bed and relax properly instead of lying there looking in the ceiling and just thinking about, oh my God, I've got so much to do tomorrow, or I screw up so much and didn't do something that I was planning to today. So put those things. Also, what helps to have a journal next to your bed, and I always keep my journals on my bedside table, and I write a gratitude journal. So I always put something that I am grateful for in my journal, but I also have a scrapbook, and I can write anything that's in my mind, and it could be something that I want to do tomorrow. So I will take it out of my head, out of my brain, and put it on a paper. And then next day I will check if there is anything for me to action. But my chimp brain, my primitive brain, and there is a great book about that by Professor Steve Peters. My hidden chimp is a version for children, and the chimp paradox is a grown-up version. So I highly recommend those books, so then you will know when I refer to a chimp brain what I'm talking about. But it's definitely important because your brain kind of knows that that piece of information has been stored somewhere else, and it doesn't have to keep it in your memory and keep replaying that. Those are probably the main tips, but try. Does any of you have anything that you could recommend or share? Please do. Please unmute yourself or put it in a chat if there is anything that you would like to share. Any tips or advices that you have and you've tested and they work for you and you would love to share with other parents. Please let me know. Exercise. Exercising, I don't like sweating, so I am not the person that will go to a gym or for a run, although I love cycling. But swimming pool, as I said, is something I love absolutely. And long walks, I love woods, forest, parks, anything with green space, a little bit of grass or trees, and the blue sky is just something that works miracles for me. And exercise outside is even double win, because you get that level of oxygen and fresh air and helps you sleep better. I also do yoga, and because I don't sweat unless you do a hot yoga. I love absolutely stretching my body and just feeling the muscles working and tensing. And you can also find the YouTube. Actually, I'm probably going to ask the office to send you emails with some links to the website that can help you. But there is also a very good exercise that you can do in the evenings, apart from breathing. So if you've heard about Wim Hof, his techniques is amazing to practice in the evening. But there is also YouTube videos, plenty of them, about the body scan by Jacobs, and that's a progressive body scan when we're tensing a specific parts of our tensing the muscles in a specific parts of our body, and we start either from the top or from the bottom, and we tensing and then relaxing the muscles with the breath, and guarantee after 5-10 minutes of that activity you have a better sleep as well. So that's a good exercise just before the bedtime. You can do that in your bed. And think about that. If you're struggling with getting that good quality of sleep, that's something that I highly recommend. And breathing and laughing techniques. Few years ago, I was invited to Laugh Out Loud workshop, and in the books that I've just mentioned, the Chimp Paradox and My Hidden Chimp, especially for children, I don't have it here with me in the room. The science again explain how we can fake the smile or laughter, and at the same, if we keep faking long enough, our brain will still produce the happy hormones and make us feel happier and make us feel better. I don't know if you're familiar with the phrase fake it till you make it, and it's a little bit like that with our brain, to the point that we keep laughing and laughing and laughing, even if you feel grumpy or sad or just like that. Until you start smiling, you will eventually feel that corners of your mouth lifting up, and you will feel happier, and your brain will feel happier, because our brain doesn't know we're faking it. Our brain is reading the muscle mimics of our face, and everything that's related with the laughter or a smile, and it actually start producing the happy hormones like when we are happy, which automatically shift your mood. So that's something to play and trick your brain, and switch the music on and do some dancing in the evening just to end your day. If you had a stressful, shitty day at work, or you spend hours on a Zoom with your boss or with your team, and you just have enough to shift your mood and to change it completely, switch on some music and just keep jumping and dancing, and don't worry about it. Just make sure the Zoom is finished and no one can see you. Breathing, as I mentioned, Wim Hof techniques, but then again on YouTube, if you Google or check on YouTube breathing techniques before bedtime or in the morning or when you stress, there is plenty, and I swear they work. Just find the one that you enjoy the most, find the one that is the most comfortable for you to do, and just keep practicing and practicing, and after a few days you will feel the difference. You will be able to see the difference, because your productivity will raise up, and you're gonna be much more relaxed and rested, and you will generally feel happier. Writing journal is something that I've already mentioned, and again, highly recommend, and any age, as long as you are able, or a baby or your child is able to hold a pencil. I work with children and do online mindfulness club for little ones, where they cannot write, but they draw pictures. And for them, even putting a stamp or a splash of a paint with a specific color is a way of expressing their feelings and emotions. So for example, if I have a 4-year-old having just a page of yellow, I know they can talk about and explain to me that is because they felt happy or something happy happened to them. And then on the contrary, if it's a dark color, or it could be blue, it could be blue because something blue happened to them. I don't know, maybe a dog wearing a blue jumper has chased them or something. So sometimes colors are not as straightforward as we say. It could be black for me or brown for me with a negative, and then yellow happy. But for a child, I remember working with a teenager and we did some visualization in her therapy session. And for her, when she was describing an issue that she had from the past, a very traumatic experience, she saw everything yellowish with the pieces of orange. And then when we later talk about that, she said because that's how she associate a sickness, the vomits. And for her, this is how she felt. So that's why her body inside felt yellow and orange at that time, because her subconscious mind associated those two colors with feeling sick, like when you're physically sick. And get a houseplant. And there is something as well about the houseplants that I would like to share with you. And I will send a link about that as well. Let me just find the right here, the article by Forbes, why greenery in your home reduces stress and improves health. Very briefly, just about plant therapy isn't just a buzzword, it's a real thing, and it does work. Believe me, a long time ago, I always said that I don't have a heart, or I don't have a hand for the plants, and I can keep any plants for longer than a few days or few weeks. But since I changed my mindset and stopped saying those things, I actually got better with the plants, and I learned also which plants are good for my bedroom, which one are healthier, and they clean the oxygen rather than taking away. So that's a little bit of a research for yourself, what type of plants. But the research here, it proves that having plants, and it's also to do with the psychology of colors. So the color green is very good for our mental health, for our psychology, and we read that as a very calming and relaxing. And this is probably why I love green space and love plants and trees and grass so much. But there is a lot that helps with anxiety and depression. Research has shown that the absence of plants in our lives is linked to increased stress, anxiety, and even depression. So if I go back to the times of my maternities and taking care of my babies, I was so crazy busy with 2 babies at home because they're very close and they were both very young. I didn't have time to bother or worry about plants, and I didn't have any at home apart from occasional bouquet of flowers that lasted a few days. And I had a depression, although I didn't know that back then. But after changing my life and shifting a few things, I know that I was feeling depressed. Being at home when my husband went to work alone with babies, nappies, and all that stuff. If I knew that then, I probably will put a whole garden into my bedroom if I could. So definitely spending time in spaces with lots of plants can have therapeutic effect and lead to feelings of calmness and reduced stress. Caring for houseplants also been shown to help reduce feelings of loneliness and depression and instill a sense of accomplishment and purpose. And something came to my mind now. Yesterday I was in a park with my children. We spent a lot of time in the park, not only because of the puppy, but we used to as well. I love outdoors, and my children are luckily still the type of kids that prefer to go for a walk or a ride on a bike rather than sit and play a PlayStation. So when we were in the park yesterday, the local cafe in the park had the big advert about mindfulness, and I used to run the workshops there. And what drawn my attention was the post about the plant. They've got like open garden when they're inviting people to come on a volunteer basis, so sign up and come to care for those plants in the garden, like a community garden. But at the same time, those are led by professional workshops about mindfulness and about the depression and stress and how to reduce stress in a contact with nature. So by caring for plants and growing them, it enables us to lower the level of stress. And I think it was Mind Food Company that was advertising there as well. So if you can look up, if that's something that's interesting you, just check them up and see if they're doing something in your local area for, open workshops for everyone. I sent you the link to the articles. I'm not going to be reading it all completely here, but just wanted to mention how important it is to have houseplants, to have something green, to have something alive, and equally pets. And if you do have already a pet, you know the amazing therapeutical impact that our pets, our little animals have on us. Just stroking a cat or a bunny or a puppy, or even if it's a big dog, it's amazing. I love just when my kids go to bed, sit down and have my dog on my lap and just cuddle her. It gives me a sense of warmth and love, and you can sense that it just floats to you. I remember being a little girl and also having parrots, those noisy, annoying birds that fly around and always squeak louder every time you pick up the phone to your friend. That's funny too, and I loved it. I felt that there is life in the house. If for some reason I was alone and I could hear them, I absolutely felt better. Even a fish that you practically can't touch or cuddle, having a tank of fish, it can be very therapeutical, relaxing. If you set it nicely with those dim lights and seeing them floating is very relaxing, very calming. So definitely recommend having a pet, having a plant, and taking care of yourself. I realized that I'm talking for almost an hour, so I'm just going quickly tell you about the NLP. So NLP, if any of you haven't heard about it before, is Neuro-Linguistic Programming, created by Richard Bandler and John Greenery in 70s. Is based on a tested communication techniques, self-development, hypnotherapy, and psychotherapy. Those two guys basically model the best and most successful therapists and psychologists of those times, of around 70s and 80s, and put those techniques in a kind of set of programs for us to learn now. Is often associated with the CBT, so something that you might have heard more often is a cognitive behavioral therapy. The main difference between CBT and NLP is that NLP is working at the subconscious level of the mind. And the reason for that is because our coded programs, our behaviors, our habits are written deep in our subconscious mind. So the NLP techniques reach deeper into your unconscious mind. And what NLP is helpful, all aspects of your life. So NLP can help with health, with medical issues, with your communication with the closest one in your relationships. It helps with your performance in sports, maybe education, but also your professional life. So it's a widespread and totally amazing it's just something that, as I said, is a big part of my life. The first things that I usually start every workshops with children and parents is the communication model. And this very quickly is something that, in terms of lowering our level of stress, daily stress, is important to understand, because this process happens daily. And as you can see on the picture here, life comes to us every day from the moment we open our eyes and our senses are sharpened. So we have 5 main senses. It's our sight, our hearing, the smell, the taste, and the touch. Scientists say that we have 15 or 32 different type of senses, but those are the 5 main senses that you can recognize. And we take life through those 5 senses to our brain every second of our life. It could be a sound of a birds outside, while the same smelling your favorite cake, chocolate cake, or I love the smell of a freshly baked bread. It could be your favorite perfumes, and I always wear a perfume when I do a public speaking or a presentation like that, or I do something new, something that maybe is stressing me out a little bit. Just let me have a sip. So the smell is very strong and very important for me, and I usually wear my favorite perfumes, and it just calms me down and gives me that boost of confidence. It could be the taste. When I feel, I shouldn't probably admit that, but when I feel depressed or down or stressed, I love chocolate ice cream, and Haagen-Dazs chocolate are my favorite, and vanilla. So just the taste of something that I enjoy a lot, it helps me deal with the stress. Especially, I think, when I feel really anxious about something happened, a situation that stressed me out, or maybe something didn't go well this day, I will have a book or a hot bath and a bit of a chocolate ice cream. It works every time for me. So being aware that those 5 senses are so impactful and important in our life, it will help you deal with the stress every single day. Let me just go back to that communication model. So when we absorb the life, every second, our brain is registering between around maybe 2 to 3 billion pieces of information. And obviously our brain can't store all and focus on everything. So as you can see right in the middle here, our brain is like the most advanced, the most magnificent computer in the galaxy, in the whole universe. And it just works its magics if we let it to. So we have filters that our brain is filtering all the informations that we don't need. It deletes, it distorts, and generalizes, just to allow us to focus on about 5 to 9 pieces of information at the time. And this is where I'm going to point to multitasking. As a ex-HR professional, I remember the buzzword in every job advert that I was placing, multitasking. It leads to burnout. This is why I first advertised multitasking in the job descriptions, and then I had to, as a HR professional, deal with the burnout and depressions of our employees, because multitasking is not something that our brains are designed to do. We can probably focus on more than one task, especially if it's, thinking about something while we're washing dishes or ironing clothes. But mentally focus on more than 5 to 9, or some people maybe 10 pieces of information, it definitely impact the quality or make it stressful or impossible for some people. But again, going back to the communication model, once the life goes through the eyes, nose, ears, mouth, and our all 5 senses, and is being filtered, what comes out is our internal representation of that life, of that world around us, and the environment around us. and it comes in a form of our thinking. So as you know, the way we think, it affects our feelings and our body. And let me just give you a simple example. If I wake up in the morning and I start my day with a prayer or with meditation, and I think about all positivity and good thoughts in my life, and I start with the gratitude, and I start with love, then my feelings are much more positive, and I feel enthusiastic, I feel energetic, and I feel very positive towards the day that I'm just beginning. My body will be more upway, so the airflow, I can breathe easier, and the oxygen goes to my brain, and my body is physically also telling my brain that I am happy. If my thoughts are positive, my feelings are positive, and my body is presenting positivity, what happened with my behavior is also going to be much more positive. And the results, again, the results will be the one that I do desire and I want to achieve. On a different note, if I wake up and accidentally bump my head on something, I feel pain, my thoughts are, not so happy and cheerful because I'm in pain. My feelings are obviously the pain and anger and frustration, maybe with being so clumsy. My body will change, so the posture will be completely different. And again, my brain is reading that my physicality has changed. Behavior, I will be stroppy, angry, short fuse. I will say things that maybe I don't mean to, or I won't think about what I'm saying or how I'm saying things. And the results of that process will be much more unwanted and negative. But when you look at reversing the process, so sometimes when we feel stressed and fatigue and tiredness and all that is kicking in, the same way I talked about the breathing and laughing, we can do it other aspects of that process. We can, for example, when we feel stressed, try to go for a walk and walk with our chin up, keep our airflow clear, straight, taking deeper breaths instead of quite short and fast. So try to change something. It's almost like you intentionally changing a state of your mind by amending or updating your posture, or you do something for yourself. So if you know that a specific smell makes you feel better, and that's the anchors that I've mentioned earlier, we can have any type of anchors. So we can associate the feeling with something related with a sense of smell or a sight. For me, why I mentioned the green space is because where I spent a lot of my childhood, near the lakes, near the forest, and I absolutely love the space and green kind of environment until now, because that's how my subconscious mind built those anchors. So I anchored my happiness and positivity in the past, in those moments, and now either entering the green space, or maybe having those house plants at home, or just simply by closing my eyes, taking a few deep breaths, and bringing to my mind the picture of my grandparents' house and the garden and the village. It just makes me calmer and happier, and sometimes I would smile, and the whole biochemistry in my body is shifting and changing. So intentionally shifting your moods by triggering any of your senses. So for those people who are auditory, for me, there is a very old song that reminds me of a really happy summer when I was much younger. And I don't know if you were listening to that kind of music, but there was a song Coco Jumbo by, I think, Captain Jack or Mr. President. Can't really, I think it's Mr. President, Coco Jumbo. If you know, write it down in the chat. But every time I hear that song, it makes me want to jump and dance, and it automatically brings the smile and it kicks in. I start having all those, like a movie playing in my brain from that specific summer, because it was that time in my life that I really didn't have kids, bills, loans, debts, credit cards, and all that to worry about. And I just enjoy life. And that type of music will make me feel really happy and positive. On the other hand, if I play Puff Daddy, I'll Be Missing You, that's the song that I associate with my grandfather dying. It will make me, even now you can hear in my voice, so that's changing too. It makes me feel very nostalgic, very sad, very, how do I say? It just reminds me that how much I miss him. We can really change our moods so quickly. The chocolate ice cream, a nice hot bath, going out into a green space, getting fresh air. And this is why I love the wind. So just going back to what I've mentioned again, that's another anchor for me, because I spent so much time outdoors and by the lakes. I loved the wind. When I was on a boat sailing, there was always a lot of wind with the sun on my face, and this is why I love water. So the hot bath, all those are anchors. Those are the positive, happy anchors for me. So this is what I put here, feel good anchors. This is what I unconsciously created over years and years in my life. And any of you have those, just find them and use them whenever you need to. Bring those positive thoughts, feelings into your body, into your brain, and shift your moods and change it. This is the anchors that I talk about to young people as well. So instead of calling them anchors, we call them a magic button, because we build a magic button in their hands, which they can press at any time. And this is where they stack up all those positive feelings and memories and emotions from the past. So it could be their best birthday party with the favorite cake, and we will ask a young person to close their eyes and bring all those senses, so the sight, the smell, whatever they could hear, maybe people are singing happy birthday to them, and gently press the magic button while they're at the peak of those feelings. And then we add another positive feelings, maybe bravery, some time that they did something that, it was very brave. Once they build that magic button and stack up all those positive emotions and feelings, they can activate at any time. And that's also when you stress. So this also helps with the extreme level of stress. When you feel anxious and stressed about something that happened or something that's about to happen in the near future, you can activate that magic button for yourself, or you can bring any of the anchoring. We have a spatial anchors as well. It could be your favorite place that makes you feel happy. It could be a place, for me, it's a bath because I love water. So anywhere outside with the lake, with the green space, that's my spatial anchors. It could be your bedroom or your bed, where you just light up the candles and read a book and you feel safe, secure, and comfy. Find those anchors and use them. Use them in your daily life, and also tell your little ones about them. Just quickly before we finish, mindfulness. Mindfulness has changed my life totally and has transformed my life along with NLP. As a parent, as a professional, and a human being, I become a better daughter, a sister, friend, because I was able to change my life to be more mindful, to be more present, to let go I learned to trust, to be non-judgmental towards others, to be more patient, although with this I still struggle sometimes, especially with my kids. But mindful living is something that I think we all need to learn more about. And I believe that mindfulness, like math or English or any other subject, should be taught in schools right from the beginning, right from the nursery age, because building those mindful habits into our daily routine, again, it's like a miracle. You can so quickly change the way you feel about yourself, about life, by being present, being mindful, paying attention to now and here instead of going million miles ahead and thinking about what will happen with your business or with your company or with your employment or with your children in the next year, 2 or 3. Don't we do that? We all do that. So being here and now and enjoying and paying attention. I remember reading a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, Silence, and he explained how we can build it. We don't have to sit and meditate for half an hour to be able to be mindful and present. Just a simple task of washing dishes could be practice of mindfulness if we only focus on how the soap or the water feel on our hands, and how the soap bubbles tickle our skin. For me, very good and something I enjoy doing is mindful shower. I would play some music, some nice relaxing music while I'm in the shower, and just pay attention to how the water feels on my skin, on different parts of my body. This is also usually the time when I do my body scan or when I do a mindful walks in the park. Those are my favorite mindfulness practices because I build them into my daily schedule. And I think this was a Wayne Dyer in one of his podcasts when he said to find those gaps and fill them with the joy. And there is a book that I'm reading now, and this is the second time I'm reading the Book of Joy. Highly recommend again. But putting joy into those gaps in your life. So when you go from A to B in your life, and for me in the past that could be going from meeting to meeting, and instead of traveling through London by tube or bus, I would try to walk and take that time for my mindful practices, to do the body scan, to just be present with my breath. And I would still do my daily tasks. So I will still go to each meeting and spend that time. I will also build my mindful practice into my travel time. So when I was on the tube coming home, I would put the headphones and either listen to audiobook or listen to some mindfulness meditation, something that will relax me and help me leave the work at work before I get home. So again, building those into your daily habits. And Wayne Dyer said that music wouldn't be a music without the gap, because if we didn't have break between the notes, it will be just one horrible sound. So those gaps are important in our life. Even the way we're breathing, when you inhale, there is usually a break, a gap between inhalation and exhalation. And filling those gaps in our busy life with joyful, pleasant, happy practices is going to help you limit and lower the amount of stress in your life. There is an absolutely brilliant picture that I wanted to share with you. Be mindful or mindful. And this is, I think, how the life that we currently have, it is or it can be, and the choice is yours. I do have something else to share with you here. Oh, just when we feel overwhelmed. And that's again an activity that I do with teenagers mainly when they have an anxiety and they can't stress, they can't sleep because they stressed maybe about their GCSEs or their first job interview. We think about recognizing what is going on. So just paying attention into how we feel. And that goes back into that communication model. So understanding how our brain works and what is happening and how we absorbing the life outside life through our brain and then representing it outside. This is what that recognition is about, to paying attention to what's inside and accepting that experience, accepting that we have a negative and positive feelings, moods, and emotions. And without the negative ones, we wouldn't understand what those positive ones are, and we wouldn't be able to enjoy them so much because we simply wouldn't know the contrast. There is always two sides, two ends, like magnets. We have north and south, and this is important in our life. So accepting and allowing ourselves to accept all the feelings that we feel, it's absolutely important. Investigate the thoughts or emotions. So investigate what is happening in your body, and that's where I do the body scan. Just pay attention to what is happening in my muscle, which part of my body maybe is a bit more tense or crooked or painful. And that's important because a lot of our emotions and thoughts getting locked somewhere in our body, and it could be a pain here in your chest or a shallow breathing, or it could be pain in your muscles. So just investigating where is it and what it is. And non-identification. So the N stands for not identifying yourself with emotions. You are not the emotion. Emotions are like that cloud. This cloud here, they come and go. And there is a very nice exercise that I teach in the Mindfulness Club, the little ones. But I would like to share with you here as well at the end. When you feel stressed and exhausted and you feel like the day has been taking better of you and you really can't cope with your emotions, just close your eyes and imagine that those thoughts and worries and all those, things that just go through and run through your mind are like clouds. Every single thought, every single worry is just a cloud. So they come and go. And what you can do to help them go away quicker is by taking a deep inhalation through your nose and then exhale through your mouth. And while you exhale, just imagine those clouds being pushed away. So you creating the gentle wind and pushing away those thoughts, those unwanted thoughts and feelings. And by just inhaling and exhaling, you're helping them to move along and move away quicker. With that gentle practice, I let you go because it is late and we all need to deal with our restful night. So we need to prepare ourselves for the good night, quality sleep. And please, if you do have any questions, let me just quickly check because I haven't actually, if there are any questions from you. I've been talking so much today. Let me quickly see what we... Oh, bless. Thank you, Paula. At least I don't feel like a weirdo who remembers Yaya Coco Jumbo. And yes, you see, now you've put that in my head and I will be singing it going to bed. So put my feet up on the ground. It will be in my head for tonight. So thanks for that, Paula. It's just making me so much happier. But if you do have any questions and you are not sure of them yet, please come and sign up to one of our Q&A sessions every few days. I think once a week, if I'm correct, we have a Q&A session led by our practitioners. There was a session with me as well, and we're happy to answer any of your questions there. I'm still here, so if you do have any questions right now for me, quickly please unmute yourself and shout, yeah, I've got to, I want to ask something. If not, I wish you a restful and a pleasant night and a happy rest of the week, because this is Monday. So enjoy the rest of your week and put some of those thoughts and practices that I share with you tonight into your life. Be mindful, be happy, and take care of yourself, reward yourself, and praise yourself whenever you can. Self-care is the most important task of our life. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here with me tonight. And I also remind you that you can watch the recording on our Superheroes YouTube channel and sign up for the Q&A sessions with our practitioners. Thank you very much. Have a good night.